He was a radio man gunner on B-17s and B-24s, flew both, and his plane was shot down by anti-aircraft fire. And so he's going to tell us about a little bit about prison life and also about the long march. He got involved in that 600-mile, I think it was over 2 months, out in the open march. So we're pleased to welcome Henry Ong. And Henry, I'm glad you can make it.
Thank you, Will, for inviting me to your reunion. As I look around, no doubt you're all a bunch of old veterans. I don't see too many young people here beside a lady. So I salute you because you're not only the survivor, but you represent the greatest generation of our time. So you should be very proud of it. And I'm surely one of them that always think that I have done my job. And I can rest assured that there is no regret to it. To begin with, how do I end up being a prisoner? I would have to start off that I'm a native Phoenician, born and raised here in Arizona. And I got drafted in September of 1942, and I went on to radio school and country school, and then ended up at December 12th in Tucson, assigned to B-24 group, and assigned to a crew rider to be trained as a gunner radio operator. Many of you probably were trained there too, because I noticed from the resume that I checked out that some of you were trained in David Mountain Air Force Base too. How many of you there? Do you know? There you are. Well, we were trained in B-24, and we thought for sure we probably were sent to South Pacific. So when we finished B-24 in David Mountain Field, then we went to Alamogordo, that's Alamogordo, New Mexico, to do a final training, and that's where we got our plane, a brand new B-24. And we thought we were going to South Pacific, so we named our plane the Trade Winds. You know what a trade wind is, so that was pretty good name. But end up that we were, at the time when we left Alamogordo, we were told to fly to London. So we ended up in London and joined the 8th Air Force, 487 bomb group, 837 bomb squadron, and that's where we were, our base, south of London. Well, luckily, talking to the line crew chief, we did have a very good line crew chief. He took care of our plane because our group was one of the hottest group in our squadron. We've flown the most during the period of time we were flying. My first mission was May the 8th, 1944. And the bombing target was Brussels, the Marshall Yard right there. It's not much of a run, but then that was scary enough being the first mission. And subsequently, we flew many missions. Even we flew in D-days. And after that, after 24 missions in the B-24, the 8-bomb group decided to change all the plane to B-17. So we switched over to the B-17. and took our training there. After that, we continued our mission. Now at that time, all it required is to fly 30 missions and complete our assignment and to present that to the United States. So we were pretty close to that figure. We got all our backpack, because we completed 24 missions and we 24 and only had 6 more to go. So we were pretty happy at that time. In fact, the day we supposed to fly, we came in at 3 o'clock from London because we had a furlough to go back to. We were in London celebrating and come back, not knowing that we have to fly that morning. Would be our last. But anyway, when we got back in Paris, we got a note saying, "You're supposed to fly." So, well, we figured just as well. And that mission happened to be Berlin, way out nowhere. That was the furthest bombing mission we had. And the target was a Mercedes-Benz engine plane. Well, after we dropped our bomb, and then we were hit by the flag, and from 27,000 feet, we dropped down to 4,000 and lost the engine, so there's no way we can fly on, so the pilot said to bail out. So all of us, but in the meantime, he saw two parachutes from the nose gunner bailed out, so we knew he was a gunner, he was a nose gunner, and a bombardier, because those were the two that there. So the rest of us bailed out, and we got caught right away by the German police, and subsequently the military personnel came to interrogate us. Do you know that they have all kind of records of our flying static, knowing what bomb group we were in and what kind of plane we were flying and what the tail gun number was, all that. And the captain tried to talk to me in Chinese. You know, we not supposed to tell them anything else, so I just ignored him. And then, but I was injured. I got hit on my leg and my hand, and was pretty painful, but I didn't get any medical attention. And then a couple of days later, we had to walk to a train station to go to our temporary barrack, and the crewman had to carry me to walk to that distance. After a week of riding the boxcar from the middle part of Germany to the northern part of the camp where we're supposed to stay. The boxcar is, we call it the 40 and 8. How many of you know what 40 and 8 is? Well, those are old-timers. They're supposed to be, you either put 40 people or 8 horses. That's the capacity of the boxcar. But we had over 200 or 300 people stuck in the boxcar to travel from one distance to the other, and they left for a couple of days, and it was horrible. When we got to our final location in the prison camp, it's a Stalag Luke 4, right on the northern part, near the Baltic Sea, where Poland is today. The camp I was in Camp C, and the barrack was fairly new. There was no bunk in it, so we had to sleep on the floor. And that was my home for the next 5 months. It wasn't bad there then because German recognized the airmen as officers of the Air Force, so they didn't require to work. So we didn't work at all, but we had to keep busy. So to keep busy, we just keep on walking around the compound every day walking in circles just to keep us safe. There's not much to eat. very scared, and the treatment wasn't bad. Around February, when the Russian was coming through from the Eastern Front toward Germany, the prison guard and official didn't want to give up to the Russian, didn't want to surrender to the Russian because they were mistreating them. So they evacuated the whole camp. Over 10,000 prisoners start marching. So this is what we can consider the Black March or Fourth March that lasts over almost 90 days and cover around 600,000 miles. We walk from the Western Front to the Eastern Front and then straight back to the West. We lived in fields, slept in barns and open fields, and dodged arrow strafing. Rain and snow did not matter. We slept under the snow cover, and people get frostbite. And we didn't dare take off our shoes because afraid that once we take it off, we would not be able to put it back together. We have lice all over our body, and there's no way they can treat it, but occasionally, once in a while, the German did send us to a clinic place that we went to a big barn, and they showered. Everybody went through there and took a little shower and clean up, and then put on the clothes back again. But the same clothes we put on, so it didn't matter. There was still lice in it. And most people develop dysentery because of the food we ate and the water we drank. Everybody has dysentery. This is commonly called GI, you probably know that. And the best way we find out to cure that is to bake the potato until it turns to charcoal. And then we ate the charcoal to help clean up our system. And that happened all the time. And a lot of prison memorial can keep up with the pace because we have to keep on going and marching in cardio. Not marching, but walking anyway. But a person can walk, slow down, so he has to be taken back to the back, and then there's always a trailer hauling some prisoners that can walk by horses. So, but we didn't really know what happened to those people afterward. Well, like I said, we have all kind of emergency too. People have diphtheria, people end up having some tuberculosis, and some people even have appendicitis while marching. I do take a look at my note because it has been for so long. If you had asked me to talk about this 20, 30 years ago, I would not have been able to do it because most prisoners, when they return home, they just kept their mouth shut. They live in silence, which I did. And there are a lot of things when I start researching what I was going to tell you, it just came back to my mind, to me, because some of them I didn't remember. And like I said, everybody have dysentery, we have blister, infected, we have mud, and then frostbite all over. May the 4th, also too, we encountered a lot of friendly aircraft too, the B-51 flying over us, but they knew that we were prisoners, so they let us alone, but they can do nothing to help us. Well, on May 4th, I was liberated by the 8th Army, British Army, somewhere in Germany, and somehow, a few days later, they flew us over to Brussels, and you know what day I ended up in Brussels? May that day, a year later, after I dropped the bomb in Brussels, the Marshall Yard, a year later I was there to celebrate the VE Day. And that was quite an event. And while we were waiting to come back on the prison camp, right near La Havre, France, General Eisenhower and all other congressmen came to visit the POW camp, to visit the prisoner. And I had a chance to shake Eisenhower's hand at that time. And that was quite an event. I came home with a very little fanfare because there's 5 boys in our family, and 4 of us went to the service, and my youngest brother was in school. And when I came home, only my father was there to greet me right here at the Union Station. And that was quite a sad event, but happy for all of us. I have in my hand here, you can see it, but then this is the letter that we can write to the family as a prisoner. And this is the first letter I wrote to my parents when I was shot down. It was dated, well, anyway, they didn't get it until January. I mailed this in August after I was shut down. But then they didn't receive this until January 1945. And then this is the letter I wrote to my folks. Right after I was liberated in Brussels, and I told them that I got in Brussels and celebrated VE Day there. But in between, they have received quite a few letters from me, but I never have received any letter from them. They did write, but then I never did get it. Well, like I said, I would have been able to tell you anything what I went through before. But on my 70th birthday, my children gave me a party, and all of a sudden my phone rang. And I answered and said, hey, this is Ed. We were together in the prison camp, we marched. Remember me? I said, oh, I remember you. So I said, hey, I have a birthday coming. Why don't you come and join me? He did. He lived in Pennsylvania. So he flew over to attend my party. But while he was here, he told my children all about the prison life, which I never did tell them. My parents passed away. They never asked me about my prison experience because they knew somehow they didn't want to bring it back out. And I wasn't in the mood to say anything anyway. So I kept quiet all this time. But until Dad came to my party and started telling my children about the war, about the flying nation, and about the forced march, that opened me up, and I felt free. You know, it seems everything came out, and I am able to tell everybody what I went through. War is horrible. Prison life is not easy. But like I said, now that it's over, we can talk about it. I have been blessed with a nice family. I have to give credit to my wife because when you're a prisoner, you have all those bad dreams and bad manner. It's pretty hard to live, you know. But you endure all this year and didn't complain. We have been married for over 66 years now. And then I have been able to participate in different activities. I active in all kind of events. In 2005, the Arizona Military Hall of Fame nominated me as one of their members, which I have here the medallion. Only 200 veterans can be nominated each year, and this program started in 2000, the year 2000, and I happen to be number 79, so I feel pretty good about it. Remember, we can hold many up. And then in 2007, the city of Phoenix had a proclamation declaring that January 16, 2007 as Henry Ong Day for the Phoenix area. So that's another event that state is very happy for. I know many of you have a lot of credit, a lot of medal to hang on to it, but I don't think any of you have this medal. What is this? It's a POW medal. It's hard to get, very exclusive. You know, you have to so I'm not wishing you to get it, but that's not happen. So not too many of you can compete with me. You might have more medals than I have, but I don't think you have this, and of course, my Hall of Fame medal. Thank you again. So I hope that I did not spoil your program, but just express my thanks to you and Will for inviting me again. And my wife's there. She would enjoy that. Thank you very much. And then wishing you a happy reunion.
Thank you, Henry, for being with us, and also...
I know how you find me. How do you find me anyway?
Well, but I think that your wife Priscilla is here, isn't she?
Yes.
Priscilla, would you mind standing? Would you like to come? Okay. Well, I just have time for a little story. Henry, you wanted to know how I found him, and it was interesting. But when I saw a kind of a printout of major honorees here in the state of Arizona, I came upon Brigadier General Edwin Dave Wallander, and learned a little bit about him, and learned that he had been a pilot out of England, had been shot down, POW, and he retired in a high position in the Air Force. But he did not have a phone number. But I understood that he lived somewhere in the Phoenix area. Of course, there's 4 million people that live here. And with the help of Randy Jones, I finally extracted his address. So early one morning, I traveled out to Peoria knocked on the door, and he wondered, how in the world did you find me? Because he had made a practice of not disclosing his phone number or telling anyone. Well, make a long story short, he was so gracious, invited me in, and agreed to be our keynote speaker this evening. So sometimes it is hard to find these fellows that have exceptional stories, and we're so delighted, Henry, that you could come, take the time, and were able to come to be with us, with Priscilla as well. And so our next session is at 2 o'clock. We go from 2 to 4 with more talks. And then, of course, our big banquet this evening. And the hospitality tonight starts at 5 o'clock with dinner at 6. And so I hope all of you can come for the afternoon session. We will actually have quite a few more people today than yesterday. So we'll adjourn for lunch and see you at 2 o'clock.